Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to V6 Turbo Hybrids, the best show in the land, bringing you all your Formula One news, gossip, and of course, letting out all our inner feelings and shit talking a couple of people, letting them know exactly how we feel about what's going on in the sport. And I'm glad that you guys are back, and let's get right into it. On the agenda today, we have Scuderia's self inflicted pain. We have where are the rookies at now? We have the fourth fastest car. And finally, we're going to talk about the hardest working HR in the Formula One business. All right, let's get right into it. Uh, so the Scuderia has been in a very interesting place following the Chinese Grand Prix. When Lewis won the sprint race, everyone thought, oh, yay, here we are. We're going to see an eighth world title, type of situation start brewing because we saw how Lewis was able to fend off Max right until the end of the sprint race. And then just we went into the Chinese Grand Prix and things took a nosedive. There was no pace. Shaw had a broken wing. Everything was just not the way we anticipated it. Well, purely evident off of qualifying, but it wasn't as good as we thought it was going to be. And at the end of the race, we found out that both Shaw and Lewis had been disqualified. Shaw for a weight issue because apparently Scuderia didn't have enough water in the car. And Lewis, it was because the blank, if you guys don't know what the blank is, when the Formula One car is going very fast in the straight and there's those sparks that come out, basically kind of like this. Yeah, that's because of the skid blank that is put underneath the car, on the floor of the car. So at the end of the race, the skid blank is supposed to be a specific thickness that's regulatory, and Lewis's blank didn't meet that standard, and of course they had to be disqualified. Now, this is all fair and fine, right? But these sound like technical issues that shouldn't be happening at Scuderia. On the back of that, in the Australian Grand Prix, there were really questionable strategy calls that happened when it started raining, especially the message to stay out, knowing full well that there was going to be Class 3 rain. Both sides of the pit wall relayed different information to both the drivers, and in both situations, they were told to stay out. Now, Scuderia has been a very interesting team when it comes to strategy calls and making the best out of a race, but we feel like they need to do better now. They have a seven-time world champion who's looking to have an eighth title, and all the mistakes of the past need to be kind of just forgotten, I guess. But basically, this is the worst campaign that Scuderia started constructors wise since 2009, allegedly. I never fact checked these numbers. I saw this somewhere on Twitter, but it's something that we feel that they need to do better. We've seen Scuderia make very questionable calls, but at least very recently they had the fastest pit stop of the Chinese Grand Prix, which means at least the pit team is doing way better, and I guess that's a step up. I don't know. We'll see. Anyway, moving on. Uh all right. The Formula One rookies. This season saw a massive 6 seats occupied by rookies. Quote unquote, some people were rookies, not necessarily rookies, but um Jack Doohan and Liam Lawson weren't necessarily rookies. I think Oliver Bebin as well. So technically, we had three full rookies, I think, and the rest, everyone else was just uh, quote unquote rookies. Jack Doohan stepped in for Esteban Ocon last year at the final race. Um, Liam Lawson picked up after Daniel Ricciardo, and Oliver Behrman drove stellar races last year. I forgot which races he drove, but he did really step it up for Haas. Um, their first race was a mammoth disaster. it started raining. It's not their fault. First race, then it rains. Four of the six rookies just, you know, DNFs. Technically, for Isaac Hadjar, he didn't even start the race. And Red Bull's Chief Grouch was not very pleased with the emotions that then Isaac Hadjar showed when he was unable to start. And I don't really blame him. I mean, he works for the team with the hardest working HR in the business. We'll get to that. But all in all, it was a very horrible first race for the rookies. Only two made it to the end of the Australian Grand Prix, which is Oliver Behrman and Kimi Antonelli. Stiller drives from Kimi. And Ollie Berman, like just getting it to the end is actually pretty amazing. And yeah, that was the first Grand Prix. Now at the back of the Chinese Grand Prix, dry conditions, everything should be should be stellar, and we get to see how the rookies performed. Isaac Hadji actually came back and he drove pretty well. Like he drove pretty well in the sprint race. He drove pretty well in the actual Grand Prix, and I think he finished 11th after the disqualifications. It's just that initially, excuse me, it's initially the Racing Bulls have also been in the same pit lane, in the same you know bracket as the Scuderia, where some of their strategy calls are very questionable. So Yuki and Isaac will start in a very good position, but then somewhere along the way the race gets essentially messed up by the team. Um, Kimi Antonelli finished fifth. Stellar drive. Was actually not finished. He's currently fifth in the drivers' standings, and he drove a very great race. He was even driver of the day in the Chinese Grand Prix. Shocking for him and everyone else. I guess the girls are voting and they like his looks, so shout out to him. Jack Dern is getting by. I think Alpine still has some teething issues to sort out there, but he's actually, stepping up and he's getting by. And there are really, really great fights all the way to the end. I think it was him and Isaac Hadja. I forgot, but he's driving pretty good, and with Briatore there, I guess the standards are being set very high, and he also needs to step up and show up. Um, Bolatello, the alleged B grade rookie, according to Red Bull's Grouch, um, he's we're still trying to sort out where he falls in life, but he drove a pretty good race. He qualified pretty good. I think he finished in front of his teammate, which is a pretty good place to be in Formula One, because the first pig in the ground is always your teammate, and then like we start to sort you out after that. Bemin, Mr. Chow, a drove a pretty solid race. Double points finish for Haas. Ocon was somewhere up there. Um, Double points on merit even before the disqualifications, I think, and that was a very amazing drive from Ollie Berman. I expect to see a lot come out of that rookie, and it's going to be a very interesting um, season for him. So next on the agenda is the struggling rookie, that is Liam Lawson. Liam Lawson is has been having a time. Like when I say a time, I don't mean a good time. It's just, has anyone ever actually looked to exercise the second Red Bull car? Because a lot of different things keep happening, and Checo had a very successful run, but I don't think that car is actually meant to be driven by anyone. I don't know who was the last competent second Red Bull driver there, but Liam Lawson has been having a time. I think from finishing 17th, 18th in the Australian Grand Prix, and 17th, 18th again in the, I think he started from 19 in the Chinese Grand Prix. and he's not driving the way that he should. But it's been a time for Liam Lawson, and it's just not working out the way it should. But hey, we'll see. Anyway, back again. Moving on to our third topic of the evening. The fourth fastest car. Now we're in a stage in the season where it's still early and no one wants to actually say, "Listen, this is where we are in terms of pace." And it's pretty evident by clearly all of the internet and everyone going into interviews and being humble and be like, the McLaren has pace, but I'm sure that if we keep our heads down or if we keep working, and everyone is giving like a little spin on everything, but it's now come out that it's now come to a point actually where everyone just says, or everyone thinks that everyone's pushing the fourth fastest car. Now, walk with me here. Woody in the Mercedes, Max Verstappen in the Red Bull, and the Scuderia of Charles and Lewis. Everyone just assumes that they're the fourth fastest car, despite Max being second in the Drivers' Championship, and Woody. I probably need to stop calling him Woody, but it wasn't me. It wasn't me. All of the internet called him Woody, and look at the resemblance. Woody is third in the Drivers' Constructors' Championship. Granted, a lot of people had some misfortune here and there, and Scuderia has really been botching their strategy, but we can. But Mercedes actually, I think Mercedes said that they're going to outdevelop McLaren by the end of the year. I take that bit with like a shovel of salt because we all know that regulation change is happening next season, meaning that the cars will be slightly a bit smaller, and that in turn means that people need to pivot and start developing more of their next year car than that their current year, unless they just want to win the title this year and risk struggling with the next iteration of car. But besides the point, everyone seems to say they have the fourth fastest car, and it leaves us in a very weird space of, so who really has the pace? My prediction of the top three is obviously the McLaren's are number one. Secondly, the second place, I'd probably give it to Ferrari, and then third, I would tie it between Red Bull and Mercedes. But this is just my opinion. I want to hear yours, so leave a comment and let me know. Also, while you leave a comment, please subscribe. Subscribe. Let's walk this journey together. All right, our fourth and final issue of the night. The hardest working HR in the Formula One business. Ladies and gentlemen, Max Verstappen has a sixth partner slash second driver at Red Bull by the name of Yuki Tsunoda. Long overdue, in my opinion, but Red Bull has finally decided to do the right thing and promote Yuki to to the senior team, which is Red Bull, leaving Racing Bull and really leaving Racing Bulls, and then replacing him at Racing Bulls is Liam Lawson, who was originally slated to be in the Red Bull team. Now, there's a lot of. First thing I'm gonna say is, I saw this on Twitter somewhere. I forgot whose joke this is, but I'm gonna say it anyway because I genuinely believe it. Currently, there needs to be three positions in sport that you should be afraid of: the Man United manager, Chelsea's number 9, and being second driver at the Red Bull at the Red Bull camp, because no one seems to survive it. We have actually, in my opinion, this actually goes back to Danny Kvyat, but um, I'll reserve that conspiracy theory for a different day. But so far, Pierre Gasly, Daniel Ricciardo, recently the longest person to survive, Checo Perez, uh, Alex Albon, Liam Lawson, and now Yuki. I don't think people should be driving that car. I hope poor Yuki goes there with a shaman, a goat, someone from the Vatican. Probably, I don't know what the ancient Greeks used to, like, to cleanse something. Lots of sage. Like that car needs lots of sage. Just drive with like some sage, and then because no one is surviving. But a pretty important question then comes up. If Yuki is able to drive the car, um, what happens then? Comments from Christian Horner said that Yuki's going to be, a cornerstone in making sure that they develop the car in the correct way. I don't know how because basically everyone claims that the car was designed around Max because Max likes a very sharp front end. And obviously, if the front end is sharp, the rear steps out on you. And if the rear steps out on you, most drivers get shaken. Red Bull have a real problem. Um, Looking at it, if there's a real possibility if they don't stay competitive, Max might decide to walk. If Max decides to walk, would he go to Mercedes? Would he replace Woody? I don't know. There are a lot of questions that come up from this whole Red Bull kerfuffle. But like I said, they have the hardest working HR team in all in the whole sport because damn, they've been switching drivers. Anyway, on that bombshell, I'm gonna park it here. Please like and subscribe. And this has been our show for today. I'm your host, and catch you in the next one.